Good morning, everybody, and thanks very much for joining us this morning on Your Voice and Open Q&A with me, Whitey, and my guest, but I'll get to him in a minute. Hey, I hope you're there and ready with your cup of coffee. It's a chilly 20 degrees here in Brisbane at the moment, so we've all got the jackets and the woolly jumpers on, and make sure you got your coffee, although it's that cold, I've drunk half of it already. Not to worry about that. And hey, the funny thing is, in Queensland, if you ever see anybody from far north Queensland, when it gets down to about 25 degrees, they've got the big jackets on, they're already cold. So I know people in other states don't feel the cold quite as much as the Queenslanders, but it's a funny gig up here. Anyhow, thanks very much for joining us this morning. And before we get into things, I do want to thank our sponsors. They do a great thing in supporting us. And a special thanks goes out to all of them: ALI, Bluestone, Finstro, Prosper, Lend, Suncorp, Pepper Money, Deposit Power, AAMC, Strive Financial, Insurance Advisor Net, On Deck, Trailbook Loans, and Credit Fix Solutions. They're people that support us corporately. They're all lovely folks, and make sure you do business with them because they are good people. Anyhow, let's get on with today's conversation, where we're going to talk about how you send money overseas. So I'd like to welcome Ian, who's already joined us, and we've got a bit of a ring in too. We've got Mark, our great state manager from Western Australia. Welcome, gentlemen, to today's conversation.
Thank you, Peter. Hi, everybody.
Good to see you guys. Hey, before we get into it, Mark, what have you done with Leah Renwick? Have you given her the arse or something? Can't hear, buddy. He's gone quiet. He's all shy and bashful.
Yeah, she's not required anymore until I just muted myself, so that's okay.
so she's not required anymore?
Yeah, no, they're working very well as a team, actually, Pete. So you'll be glad to hear. So I've been taking a lot of the East Coast stuff as well as the West Coast that I'm dealing with as well. So getting a bit of exposure on that side of the country, which is fantastic. So really enjoying it.
Better caveat that, because Leah might think you are taking over a job. That's just to help her out through the moment. It's you're giving a lending hand for the team.
Yeah, that's it.
And otherwise, mate, I'm going to pay so dearly for this. It's not funny. So let's move on sooner or later. Hey, I hope you guys got some morning tea. So everybody else has too. My dear wife has made me some orange and poppy seed cupcakes with a no sugar icing on the top. And she still doesn't get the fact I'm diabetic. But anyhow, that's all right. Oh, geez, Mark, we're in trouble. I've already got a text message from Leah, which says, no. I will hurt him, LOL. Watch out, brother. You're on notice. Okay, let's move on.
Turn this on silent.
Yeah, you'll be confident. All right, yeah, let's turn to you. Let's have a talk about sending money between Australia and overseas, and potentially vice versa. Have chat around what that looks like, why it's important to do it the right way, but also why it's important to look at alternatives rather than taking the ye old blinkered approach and walking to your bank. But firstly, just to help to set the scenes, give us a little bit about your background, mate.
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much, Peter. So as it happens, I actually started off my financial services career in mortgages back in the UK. Within a little regional area in the UK called Cornwall. Started doing mortgage trading there for about 12 months or so, and then a little thing called the GFC hit. So yeah, my kind of plans were scuppered really. The brokerage I was working for was doing about 20 mortgages a month, went down to 2. So unfortunately got laid off, and there was a foreign exchange company in my hometown, which is quite rapidly growing, and I managed to jump on the bandwagon there. Started off my foreign exchange career back in 2013. That company that I previously worked for grew to become one of the largest in the UK during my time there. In 2013, an opportunity came up to relocate to Australia to open up the Australian arm of that business. Kind of put my hand up, and still here today. So almost 7 years later, living here in beautiful Queensland, and I couldn't think of a better place to be in the world, particularly in the current climate.
And as you can see, you're a true Queenslander now because you're still in a t-shirt, a polo shirt. That's what happens in that God's country.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or God's part of the country, I was going to say. But that's excellent. And what a great background and experience. And
yeah, no, thank you. Yeah,
it's lay up and
yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
yeah.
It can be a great experience across kind of two countries, both in the UK and Australia. But I can rest assured, I certainly call Australia my home now. And yeah, I've got no plans of leaving anytime soon.
Good to hear. Otherwise, we shouldn't be talking about
it.
So let's move on. So tell me a little about the business, SendFX, or I think it refers to either Send or SendFX, and maybe you want to explain that little acronym FX so people understand what that's about. And it's not special effects.
No, it's not special effects. Although we consider ourselves a special company. So FX is foreign exchange. So our company Send, what do? We assist individuals and businesses with alternative solutions for cross-border payments as an alternative to banks. 8 out of 10 people and businesses who transfer money internationally will still use their bank to do so. Why do they do that? Mainly because they're unaware of alternatives out there than the banks, and they might feel allegiance to that bank perhaps. If they've banked the bank for 30 years or so, they might not think of using anywhere else. But it can be a huge cost-saving alternative to use a company such as Send to send or receive money in or out of Australia. Now, we primarily assist individuals who are doing so. Now, an individual might use our services might be an Australian expat living overseas in London, for example, and they want to transfer funds back to Australia for an investment property. Okay, so they would then use our services as opposed to the bank by getting a much better exchange rate. It might be an expat that's living here now in Australia and is seeking a home loan. Well, they might well have some funds held offshore in New Zealand they want to bring across to Australia to help out and help fund that home loan.
So,
we see a lot of sorry, Peter.
So tell me a little bit. One little piece you mentioned there is about saving money and better exchange rates. So just to deepen that out just a little bit for us as to how is it you get better exchange rates than the banks, and how that savings is then, I guess, passed on to people who are transmitting the banks. I mean, you tend to have that blanket approach. You can only do this through the banking system. But then, it's a bit like when mortgage broking started out, we said, well, you can do it through a broker because it's cheaper. Are there similarities in that, or why is it cheaper to be able to do it through an alternative such as SendFX?
Well, the banks get the cheapest foreign exchange rates there are, but they just don't pass them on to the customers. That's the thing.
Is that right? Is that the bottom line?
Absolutely,
they still get it cheaper, but they pocket the profit. That's the bottom line.
Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. So we brand ourselves as a specialist non-bank provider of foreign exchange. So if you transfer money as either a business or individual overseas, or bring money into Australia, you can typically kiss goodbye to anywhere up to kind of 5% of your money being lost in the bank's exchange rate conversion. Okay, so put that in layman's terms. If you're a bank transferring, if you're a company that has to transfer $100,000 overseas, perhaps to buy some inventory or some products, or if you're an individual transferring it across for an overseas property, you can kiss goodbye, say $4,000 to $5,000 of your money going into the bank's coffers, not your own.
God.
Okay, it really is that much.
Yeah, that's wicked, eh?
Yeah, so we're not talking kind of chump change here where you're saving kind of $30 or $40 on a transaction. It can be into thousands of dollars for any business or an individual that is sending money to or from Australia.
Geez, if there's no other value proposition, it's purely that. I mean,
absolutely.
No wonder the banks make. Go on.
Absolutely, you're absolutely right, Peter. Sorry to interrupt you. You're absolutely right. Banks make billions of dollars every year in foreign exchange, be that of mum and dads or for businesses in their transactions. They really do. So we simply come in and undercut them. That's all it is. It is nothing more than that. But we also add, it's not just about the foreign exchange. It's not just about the foreign exchange rate. There's no fees associated with us either. So if you were to go down to your local bank or a credit union, all the same, to try and transfer money overseas, you're looking to pay $30 or $40 just in a fee to do so. There's no fees with us. So if you're a business or an individual transferring money regularly, you're getting clipped $30, $40 each time.
So the bottom line there is then using an alternative, and here we're talking CentFX, not only do you save on the exchange rate, which, you know, the 100 grand could be somewhere in the vicinity of 5 grand, but you also don't get the fees that the banks are charging as well. So no wonder the bastards are making billions of dollars of profit every year. It's just go, wow, that's a pretty tough call. So I mean, that's a really good point. But if I was doing it, am I able to track that money as it's going from A to B, or is it just sort of sent into the ether and you sort of everything's crossed that it lands at the other end?
No, we're very proactive. So you get notified upon the point of us receiving the funds and the point that we've transferred the money out. So that's another important fact you just raised there as well, is that our transfer and processing times are significantly faster than the banks as well. If we receive the money in from a client in the morning, we can generally get it out same day. So it's not uncommon for us to be able to conduct same day transactions. So banks in client's account one day, and then there's in the afternoon. Same with the business. So if you're a business paying an overseas supplier in China, and supplier X isn't going to release your stock until they receive the payments, they get the payment from us a lot faster, if not next day sometimes to China. Whereas with a bank, the payment can take 5 days sometimes. So as a business,
it's a very important piece for people who are watching and their clients, and it's not necessarily something, from a broking point of view, that you normally think down that path. And I think it's important, especially in these times, as far as creating better value and stronger value propositions to your clients. But if they're in a business that has has a product that comes from overseas and so on, they need to send money. Here is a way a broker can add value to their relationship by getting it cheaper exchange rates, reducing fees, better tracking and monitoring systems, and quicker. Because I know, and I have a bit of exposure with movement of monies around the world, but just from some business connections I have, not me personally. I'm just a poor, not-for-profit guy that's trying to cut a living. But mate, I know, like with most banks, you have a 3 p.m. cutoff each day. If you don't make that, you're in the batch the next day. And to try and track it, if something goes left of center, is a horrendous ordeal.
Yeah. We use the we use the SWIFT network, which means we can have total traceability of all funds as well. So it works very, very well. But it's not just about, obviously, price is one thing. So customers can come to us for better pricing, obviously. But where we also pride ourselves too, Peter, where the banks fall short, is we're a very, very service-driven company as well. So we pride ourselves in being able to give very, very high level of personal service to our clients, no matter how much money they're looking to transfer. So what that means is, what it entails is, each customer is assigned their own personal account manager. So they have direct access to that person. So they can call them up, they can email them direct, they can spend half an hour chatting about the rates. Where's the US dollar going to be directly in the next 6 months? I'm going to buy some stock from Europe in the next 6 months' time. Where it might go? We can give all that information for free. It doesn't cost anything. Now, you can bet your bottom dollar if you went into the. I was going to say, if you bet your bottom dollar, if you went into your local one of the big four and asked one of the tellers behind the bank about foreign exchange and where they think the yen might be in 6 months' time, they'll probably scratch their head.
That's assuming you can find someone behind the counter.
That's assuming you can find. Yeah,
pretty empty these days.
Yeah. I mean, banks, they a lot of the people you'll see at the banks, the local teller, will have KPIs around kind of credit card sales, home loan sales, insurance sales. Okay, that foreign exchange isn't a big deal for them, whereas for us, it's our bread and butter. It's all we know, and we've got an exceptionally high level of skilled, experienced team here behind us. Yeah.
So I know we're talking a lot about businesses that buy or things from overseas or move money between countries and so on. And so that's, if you like, a business transaction for those listening or watching in today for their clients. What about themselves? So me as an individual or one of our brokers that are watching, can they use this as an individual or for their businesses as well as their client's business?
Absolutely, yes. We've actually, so since we started working with the FBAA, we've had half a dozen or so brokers who are born overseas, now living in here, who have been sending money back to family. We had one chap, won't go into names obviously, but he had some money left in the UK, he brought over there. We assisted a gentleman yesterday who was transferring money back to India for a family member. So yeah, this isn't just a value-added service for the broker's clients, but also for the brokers too. If you think about it, 1 in 3 Australians were born overseas. So if you break that down in terms of looking at your number of members, you could probably guess around 2,000 of them perhaps were born overseas.
Yeah.
So there's a number there that can use our services. Yeah.
I think it's a really important thing too, and especially there's a very strong flavour of people from overseas, or from Europe, and knowing very much how Europeans families connect and support one another.
Yeah.
And I would imagine, and I have no data on this, but I would imagine just simply because of the composition of our population, there'd be significant amounts of money that have been sent overseas to help family, or vice versa. And people are just paying through the nose for it, and it's really not necessary. So I guess we've got to get to the end of the plug, right? But if you're an FBAA member, somebody joins up with SendFX, is there anything in it for them?
Absolutely, of course there is. Absolutely, most definitely. So yes, we look after the client. We get them much better rates of exchange and much better service than what the banks and what we believe our competitors can. But we also really want to build that relationship with the brokers as well. Okay, what does that entail? First off, we're there to support them in terms of marketing, so we can give them marketing materials. I guess what's more important now than ever is how they can earn additional revenue streams as well. Okay, so if times are perhaps a bit quiet during this kind of period, then we pay revenue shares to each of the FBA members for any introductions they can make to use our services, and that can be extremely lucrative as well. So not only are you're saving your clients money, you're also earning money. Okay, so the only real loser at this here is the banks, which I'm sure no one's going to lose any sleep over.
We're happy about that.
And a little incentive as well that Peter pushed through for all members is that if any member can recommend and refer to us 3 trading clients within the first 6 months of agreeing to work with us, we will cover their FBA membership of $465, which SendFX will cover the cost for.
Hold the horse. Listen to that, folks. That if you give them 3 clients that trade, what is it, within the 6 months they sign up?
3 clients.
3 clients they trade. They're going to pay for your membership with the FBAA. So your FBAA membership would be free through a reimbursement, I would imagine. It's probably the way it works. Mate, that is huge. I need to get that out more. Let me tell you. Mate, that number is. That's really.
It's good.
Mark's making a list of people now.
And we've seen some great traction with it as well. So I think we first started working together, Peter, you put out some information about us on one of the your newsletters. And we've already had over, we've had over 80 FBA members so far who have signed up, agreed to work with us, which is a simple electronic agreement referral form.
And
we've got about 20 or so different members refer clients to us so far. And that's a mixture of people that are putting money to family, they're investing in property, for businesses. And they've all found the service so far absolutely fantastic. And none of them were aware that there's alternatives to the banks. This is all brand new to them, so it's been great. It's been very
well, that's good too. I mean, part of my personal, I was going to say view, mantra's not good, but just from my point of view as an individual, I love bringing new and exciting things to the market or to people's attention and moving away from the norm. In 1992, I left mainstream banking to join with this unknown company that was the name of a sheep called Rams. And I remember my manager, when I left the bank, he said, "Peter, I'll see you back in 3 months." Never again did I go back there. I am passionate about alternative options. And Rams Home Loans, of course, was the one. Long time ago now, but just stopping the blinkered mind thought and thinking about what else can do. And mate, I say thank you, and I love what you're doing for our members. You're getting a financial return, get 3 clients trading into the system in 6 months, and SendFX will cover your FBAA membership. So, and that's for individuals. That doesn't go to corporate members. That's purely for individual members. We're going to pay that. Otherwise, mate, it's going to cost you thousands and thousands somewhere. Look, okay, so that's great. So hopefully everybody's got a handle on that. One of the things I wanted to ask is, we sort of talked about sending money. Does this work the other way? So this is for money going in, money leaving Australia going overseas, and money coming into Australia. So somebody uses their system. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct. Yeah, so we can transfer money from Australia to about 200 countries, to pretty much anywhere in the world. There obviously are some restrictions on some countries where we can send money to. It's potentially more restrictions.
You won't accept money from Nigeria?
No. from a rich uncle that passed away. Yes, there are some countries that we can. I mean, that's kind of, we're kind of bound there by Austrac and ASIC in terms of where we can send money to. So there are some restrictions. There are some restrictions also in terms of when we perform our KYC, in terms of where the source of funds come from, etc., etc. But all common stuff. Primarily, short answer to your question, Peter, is yes, we can bring money into the country from overseas. This could be funds held offshore by an individual in Australia, or it could be money being sent to them perhaps from a third party or from an individual or from a business overseas. So yes, we can.
So are there any tricks, tips, hacks people should know in regards to this? Use your services, of course.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Look, I mean, I'm not. Yes, I'd love for everyone to use our services. Please do. By all means, please get in contact with us. I guess if you are looking around, pick a company that's ASIC and Austrac regulated. By all means, do your homework, do some research, read reviews. Reviews are always one of the best things to go by these days. But give us a call. Any uncertainties or queries you might have, then feel free to get in touch with me, and I'm sure that I can help you out with it.
Sure. Is there much fraud in this sector? Moving money's all reeks of AML issues to me. AML CTF comes into focus.
Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be elements of risk of fraud in any industry you're in. I mean, look at companies like Travelex, for example. There's always going to be that element of risk. But yeah, we've got bank level security within our operations. All client funds are held in segregated bank accounts. Our banking partners include kind of like NAB and Barclays for that. But unfortunately, I mean, in terms of what you're saying, then it's unfortunately sometimes the banks can make things worse in the industry. You've seen the Westpac scandals in the past. HSBC, CBA, they're not doing the industry any favours, really. They're the ones who should be setting the highest example, really. Look, we do our own. We're obviously, as I mentioned, we're ASIC regulated, Austrac regulated. We're audited by Ernst Young as well. So we're white and white in that respect.
Okay, excellent. Hey, what I'd like to do, we're going to do a bit of a poll now, and folks, what's going to happen is your screens are going to change a little bit, and a little survey poll is going to come up. So I'm interested to understand how often people send money overseas. So we'll do the poll. Here it is now. It's up on your screen. It'll probably stay there for about 30 to 45 seconds. It's not going to leave it there for too long, maybe a minute at most. Just select one of the items as to how often you might send money overseas, and then it'll give you a little prompt to complete that. And then just give us a few minutes. Give us a minute, not a few minutes. Give us a minute, and we'll collate the data. And whilst you're doing that, I'm going to eat a cupcake. No, I'm not. Yes, I am. Okay. All right, go for it.
Yeah, it's been interesting to see. I think it also, if people have you ever had a client that's ever sent money or received money from overseas as well?
Yeah, we brought in the data. But I think it's always interesting with so many people that do have family overseas or business that takes them overseas.
Well, an individual, Pete, an individual typically transfer, if they have a requirement, transfers money 3 times a year, business 8 times a year.
Oh, wow, okay.
So that could be a lot, and also and in terms of the commission, we pay on every single transaction, so it could be a good recurring revenue stream for any broker.
All right, so you basically set a client up in place, and whenever they use it, the broker gets a revenue.
So the more times they transfer money, the more payments get paid back in commission to the broker.
Wow. I'll be going hunting for businesses that are importing and exporting. Sorry, brother.
Plenty of them out there.
I go hunt them down. But don't get me wrong. In this environment, looking at having revenues from different streams, it's just smart. We were saying in the past, if anything collapses, then there's something else that keeps things going for whatever reason. And especially now, like the government's predicting a very tough economic environment in the third quarter, and I think getting on board with some of these things, and especially going back through your database. If you've got business clients, go back through your database and say, I'm going to save you some money if you're sending money or receiving money from overseas. Especially in these times, because otherwise you're just going to burn cash with your bank, and that's business's profit. that's going down the toilet. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very good point you raised there, Peter, because we also provide email templates for the brokers to send out to their client database.
Oh, do you?
Which has worked fantastically well. So if you've got a database of say 100 clients, we can provide you with a newsletter template with a unique tracking link for them to make the client to make an inquiry. When they make that inquiry to us or contact us, we know exactly which broker it's come from.
Oh,
we can track it, and then you get a pay commission off it. So without really doing any work, all you're doing is sending out one email. Any clients that come to us, we don't know the source of the client.
Right. Okay. Right. That's brilliant. So everybody, make sure you hook onto that, because that's going to make your life easier. Pre-templated email that you can send out to your database that has, I guess, embedded links or whatever that actually tracks it back to you, so that any business they do is immediately accredited to yourself.
Yeah. So, we had one broker, a bit of a case scenario. We had one broker that sent it out on a Friday afternoon. We had 6 inquiries come Monday morning. 2 of the people, he never even knew the transfer money overseas before. It turns out they did, but he wasn't aware that they did, or they never disclosed they had a requirement for it. So there's probably lots within bases, lots of clients that you might have that you might not be aware of have requirements to transfer money overseas.
Yeah, so you don't even have to target in. You actually could just send it out broadly as a, if you have the need, get onto this.
Correct.
Hey, Mariah, who's in our background, who runs our show for us, you want to close off the, close it off, done. Hello, everybody. Are we up to see the results? Here we go. Look at that. Greater than once a year, monthly, somebody 17% never. Hang on, I've got to move this thing on my screen because I can't see the results. That's it. So you got 13% monthly, 8% quarterly, 13% 6 monthly, and once a year or more, 50%, and 17% never. And that's always going to be the case. So there's roughly an 80-20 rule playing out. Do you know, thanks, Mariah, if you can drop that. In our industry, it amazes me how much the 80-20 rule plays out in just about everything. So when we look at broker distribution in Australia, 80% of brokers, even money, rounded, 80% of brokers are on the East Coast. When I look at the FBAA membership, 82.13% of members are on the East Coast. The 80-20 rule in our game almost never changes. And there it is again on that data where basically 80% of the people are probably going to use it at least once a year, and probably half or better of that far more often. So the old saying, if you use it once a year, it's a good year, the old tyre company. I dare say, even if it is once a year, this is the way you should be doing it. It's efficient, it's trackable, you can make money from it, so you get a revenue stream. You save your clients and yourself money because you get better exchange rates. And if you get 3 clients within 6 months, hey, you've got free FBAA membership off the back of it, and you even get access to templates that you can send to your database at no cost from Cragg and his team that will enable you to send that out to your client base, and it automatically tracks back. Hey, I've got a question come through here. Let me have a look. Does the commission work for money coming into the country? That's a question.
Yeah, correct. Absolutely. Any transaction, be it coming in the country, out of the country, any transaction from a client that's referred to us, the broker will earn commission. Absolutely correct.
Mate, that's huge. Absolutely huge. Mate, we might look to one of you. Oh no, I've got another question. I'm going to have you in this question in a minute, and then we'll close off. Is there anything else you want to cover? I think we've covered a lot.
I think we've covered a lot. Yeah, in terms of what else we can do to support the brokers is the little tracking link we can provide you with. Brokers can also use that on social media. So if they've got a Facebook page, you can post that link. If the customer sees it, then click on it and come through to us. If they want us to provide any kind of, lots of brokers out do their own blogs. If they want to ask us to come in and do some blog commentary or provide content for their website, we can do all this stuff, all for free. It doesn't cost anything. And we want to support you, the brokers, as much as we can within that space. So anything marketing related you want, any ideas you might have, then please feel free to reach out. We can discuss that.
We better get some more communications back out to members, Craig. Ian?
Absolutely. Yeah, please do.
Sorry, Mark, you about...
I've just got a quick question for Ian. Obviously, the movement of people has gone completely down with COVID-19. What about the movement of money?
Yeah, movement of money is still there. It's a very, very good point. So we service clients in many different industries. The relocation sector and travel sector has probably been 2 of the hardest hit, as is the SME sector to some extent. But what we have noticed perhaps where we would have seen a downfall is the volatility in the Australian dollar. I'm not sure if how closely anyone follows it, but it's been up and down like a yo-yo. For example, the pound, we've seen movements of about 10% in the last kind of 3 months. So on large volume transactions, it's significant. So for some expats who are living here, they've been transferring money into the country, trying to take advantage of that, and vice versa. But about 3 months ago, the Aussie dollar was that weak. It was the weakest it had ever been in history against the Kiwi dollar. It'd been the weakest in 17 years against the US dollar. It'd been the weakest in 4 years against the pound. Now it's the strongest in 8 months against the pound. So it's been up and down so much like a yo-yo. People are either transferring money. There's two reasons why people transfer money generally, either through fear or through greed, from my experience. So they're either trying to capitalize on it or they're transferring it offshore in fear. So yeah, we've done all right. Whenever there's volatility, we do extremely well as a business. So you make a good point. The relocation sector has definitely struggled. That's a big sector for us. But we've got a large client base out there who have benefited from it for transferring money in another country.
Well, I just saw last night it's the highest against the US dollar. It almost broke the 70-cent mark yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely correct. Yeah, absolutely correct. And that's going to get stronger, in my opinion, as well. In terms of what's happening in the US at the moment, with both COVID and everything else we're seeing on the news, there's going to be a lot of pain for a long time. There's going to be mass unemployment there for a long time, and that economy is going to take, in my opinion, it's not personal advice in any way, shape, or form. In my opinion, it's going to be years before their economy recovers. It really is. So I think the Aussie will be in for a good run against the US.
Not that I'm really planning on a trip to the US at all in any time soon.
I don't think anyone's at the moment. I don't think many of us will be.
It's an interesting conversation though, the US. Prior to this, I was on a webinar with a group out of Canada, and it's interesting how all the conversations are running in parallel, regardless of what the issues are, regardless of what the views are. Almost interestingly, globally, we're united in the same sort of concerns and issues, and even to, if you like, the bad behaviours in our own countries around the sort of conversations that are resulting from the US. Canada has it, we have it. It's quite amazing. Mate, I've got another question here for you. And it's from someone called Leah, obviously feeling a little bit left out. So we send out love, Leah. Are the funds insured? And I don't know, excuse me, I don't know how you do that, but and the example is if you purchase something from somewhere, China or whatever, you pay for it, but it doesn't get delivered. And I think that's like a PayPal thought, but I don't think you can insure funds, can you?
No,
or can you?
No, we can't insure funds now, unfortunately.
It's more like insuring the product. You've got to insure your product that you're trying to get
so I guess what my advice would be in that situation, if you are buying from an overseas supplier, do some due diligence, do your own research, check reviews, check the credibility of that company. That's all we can really say on that matter, really.
All right, no worries. Well, I'm going to step away slightly from FX and just involve both of you as business people and professionals within the industry. This is a completely left field question, so it's got nothing to do with FX. It's a question that was sent in that we wanted to ask today. One of our members wanted to ask today. It says, I believe the ATO need to offer 100% refund on unpaid rent to solve this black hole problem to do with what's happening with stimulus and COVID, as tenants can't repay it. So it's obviously a reflection on, somebody's got a tenant in there, they don't pay rent. How do we solve that sort of problem? I don't know how the ATO would offer 100% refund, but there may be some tax offsets come about somewhere somehow. What are your thoughts on that, if any?
Mark?
Good luck.
I've got no idea on that one. I've got as much idea about the tax system as anybody else, I think. So yeah.
And Mark's got more knowledge than me.
The tax system's called a black hole. It's all right.
I don't know. I always find with these kind of government grants, etc. They make it such a long-winded process and so hard to get hold of these funds that it puts your heart into the try a lot of the time.
Yeah, it is tricky, and yeah, my concern is in the back of my mind is if a business takes up, say, a part of the stimulus package, gets 250 grand, takes a 6-month holiday period, they've actually got 2.5 years to repay $250,000, and plus the interest, of course. And you know, if they're struggling and needed that money in the first instance, how the hell are they going to pay it off in 2.5 years? You know, there's an imbalance.
Yeah.
You know, it's all well and good to do these things, but quite often they're done with all good intention, by politicians and the people in the spheres that they're talking to through the public service, all with good intention, but without a lender's hat on, going, well, shit, how are they going to do that? It's all good now, gets through that bit of the hole, but does that mean we're going to have a major arrears issue in 2.5 years' time because people just haven't been able to clear it in that period of time because they've been suffering? And if we go into the next quarter with a really tough economic consideration within our country, and obviously the recession that we're in, and I think with the recession conversation, people shouldn't get too scared or too uptight about that. And I say that as a bit of an old grey guy. So look at this coming on, guys. It's getting there, but it's all grey. Yeah, I've been through many recessions, including the GFC. But putting the GFC on one side, I think I've been through about 5, maybe 6 recessions. I don't think they're necessarily things that people should be scared about. Rather look for the opportunity, and I think that's you know, a part of where we're progressing. But you know, we've got to look at some of these stimulus packages. So it's all well and good, but you've got to dig out of the hole at the back end, and this is where that opportunity arises to me as we go through that for brokers, is to actually be helping borrowers out to actually unwind some of this as it goes forward.
Well, this is the first recession I've ever really had to go through, Pete. So on the other side of the coin, and
is that a backhanded comment, my friend?
Look, take it as you may, but you know, it's going to be probably what a lot of people are thinking at the moment. It's the first recession they're actually, you know, alive, working, paying tax, all these types of things for a lot of people. And you know, just looking at the news last night, you know, the stock market was up, the Aussie dollar was up, and I thought they were, you know, positive things. Is the recession not that we had to have, it was that we were going to always have after COVID-19 hit. So I think there is a lot more of a positivity about this recession because it was always going to happen anyway. He's preempting it from the next quarter of growth anyway. So it's not the worst feeling in the world from what I'm feeling at the moment.
And history has proven you always come out the other side, and most times you come out stronger.
Yep, exactly. So I'm certainly not feeling it as a negative. It's just one of those things we've had to go through. It's just one of those other COVID news bites, I guess, at the moment. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to be feeling it, but I certainly don't think it's as bad as all the Paul Keating ones and all those sorts of things as well.
Yeah. All right. Well, Ian, again, wonderful. Thanks. It's such a great and informative conversation we've been able to have with you today. And I really appreciate the offer that you're making out to FBAA brokers. And if you're not an FBAA broker and you're watching this, there's a lot of people who aren't members who watch this, suggest you become a member. Get into this offer with your client base, and knowing that you got the potential of give Cragg 3 clients that transact in the 6 months, you're going to get free membership and you're going to generate a revenue stream. So that's really cool, as well as, and it, more so than just, it's not just about us, but it's more so the benefit you bring to your client by getting rid of fees the banks would change, getting a better exchange rate, which means they don't lose thousands and thousands of dollars on the way through. And I think that, as much as anything, is extremely important. So Ian, buddy, thank you so much. You stay well. It's been really great chatting.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks, everybody. Really appreciated it. And yeah, if you want to get in touch with us, there will be a follow-up email coming through to you from the FBAA, which will have a link on there to contact us for more information regarding our services, how we can benefit both you and also your clients as well.
Yeah, most certainly. That'll be on. You'll get folks. You'll all get an email when we close off this, and on that we'll have a contact point to be able to reach out to SendFX. Mate, take care, and we'll speak to you soon.
Thank you very much. Take care, and Mark, all the best. Take care.
Cheers, gents. See ya.
Bye now. Bye.
All right. Thanks. Let's keep talking to Mark and find out what's happening around the country and the conversations that you're talking to Pete, Mark, on. Sorry, I had a message come up on my screen, took me right away from things. And what's happening in your world, my friend? What's happening? Now, let's just get it clear for everybody. You are our state manager for Western Australia, South Australia, and Northern Territory. And we know you're working closely with Leah. She's just going through some medical period at the moment. So you're doing a little bit of stuff on the East Coast. But let's talk about your main portfolio and the style of things that you're seeing that's happening in those states. How are they going?
Pretty good, Pete. Pretty good. Obviously, the last time we spoke on Q&A with Whitey, I'd only just been in the job for a very short period of time. So I've certainly got into the swing of things now. And since then, I've really, spoken with I'm over 150 odd phone calls to brokers around, South Australia, Northern Territory, and here in WA as well. And the overwhelming feeling is optimism and confidence. And it's not blind confidence either. It's, it's well thought out. We are going to get through the other end of it. How are we going to do it? And it's, people are on a different scale of where they're at. They might be busy, and that's great, or they might be a little bit quieter, but they're still getting a few inquiries. But they're also using the time to, look at their business and look at processes that might need to be improved, or they're using time for professional development. There's a lot of webinars that are going on at the moment, but it's not just webinar stuff. It's doing a course here and there because they might have a little bit of extra time to do things. So there's not a lot of sitting around or going to Bunnings and all that type of stuff. People are really using the time either to write more business, and that's going to be whether it's going to be refis or new business or whatever it might be. But it's also really looking at them personally as well. And obviously we've had overnight with the announcement of the 25,000 for the construction side and the home reno side of things as well. There's opportunities there as well for extra business to come through.
Yeah. And mate, you made a very brief comment at the beginning there. You said you've only been with the FBAA not quite 3 months, because it's in my diary. But what's your background, brother? What have you been doing in the past?
Well, I sent a text to one of my ex-colleagues at Keystart because they're going to be probably copying a whole lot with construction, because here in WA, Keystart are one of the government-backed lenders, and it's a very integral part of the construction industry here in WA. They probably do about 50-50 of all first home buyers throughout the state, and that's full stop. And really across their book is about 80-20, actually, going on to 80-20 comment, it's about 80-20 construction as well. So I think they're going to find their business is going to go up quite a bit over the next few months, because it's an integral part of it. I just hope that builders aren't going to take advantage of the situation and just add another 20 grand here and there, because we have had in the past where we've had $21,000 first homeowners grants and things like that, and I hope we don't see anything that goes awry with those types of things.
I think we need to call that out and make sure it doesn't happen, because that's just been doing the wrong thing. And mate, I love that 80-20 rule in this country or in our industry. Everywhere I turn, you look at something, it's an 80-20 rule. It's just, it might be a little bit this way, a little bit that way, but it's never far off it. It's really fun. And
we've got 80% on the East Coast, but we've got 20% on the Best Coast. So
is that how you look at it? Yeah, that's okay. You call it how you think. And so obviously you were with Keystart beforehand, before joining the FBAA. And what else did you do prior times?
So I spent 4 years on the Town of Victoria Park Council. So I was elected member for 4 years over in Victoria Park. So I moved to the next suburb along, so I couldn't be on council anymore with those guys. And look, that was really a positive way of kind of giving back, I guess. I'd always had a bit of an interest in politics and things like that. And it kind of, I kind of scratched my itch, I guess, for a little while. Very time intensive though, because the amount of things that you've got to read and really take a lot of thought on, because these aren't small issues for the community, because they affect the community on a day-to-day basis. So if you're going to say yes to a planning decision or something like that, then there's obviously going to be some people that think it's a negative as well. So you've really got to look at it from a very well-rounded point of view, and it really, I think, really helps with stubbornness. I think is a good way, because you can't be stubborn with those types of things. You've always got to be very open, listening to all types of arguments about anything. It's such a varied type of job there, and I found it very beneficial for myself personally, and being able to speak to business owners and just general ratepayers as well. It was very good.
Yeah. Excellent, excellent. Hey, mate, and before we round off, because we will shortly, in your conversations talking about place, and before I go to that point, how's the territory going, the NT? Are they going along all right up there?
Yeah, brilliant. I spoke to them just before the pubs opened. I didn't want to distract them from anything important up there. So the vast majority of people that I spoke to were just, it's back to what it was before COVID. I was, I told you I was excited and really wanted to call you because it was such a really positive day that I had that day. It was all day I was calling the guys up there, and it was just great. It really felt like, things can change, and it's not going to be something that's going to be at the end of the tunnel somewhere. That the end of the tunnel is coming. It's just going to be at varying stages of where we are in the different parts of the country. So they're doing well up there, and I think if Northern Territory can do it, then the rest of the states certainly can as well.
Yeah, I think it's a classic example in that, as you say, the Territory have come out, if you like, the other side of this, and come out screaming. And I know that to everybody I talk around the country, and let alone you're talking to more than I am these days, I guess, but everybody seems to be doing blistering well, except for those that are doing nothing. If you're doing nothing, they're getting nothing. But those who are out there that wearing out or crunching the numbers are actually seriously busy. I was on we did the Tom Panos Zoom webinar yesterday, which is absolutely phenomenal. But one of the guys on there turned around and said, look, as soon as COVID hit, I emailed or got in contact with my entire database just to ask them how they were going through this period. And he says today he has not been as busy as what he is now for the last 2 years. Just phenomenal. So that's very cool. Very good.
People aren't getting phone calls, Pete, about, people are wanting to sell a lot of stuff, and that might be where people are going through their books, but the actual connecting with their clients and actually seeing how people are, that's the big difference.
Yeah,
people are going to remember conversations that they have during COVID-19, especially positive conversations. There's a lot of people that are out there that are unfortunately, they're on JobKeeper. They're not doing much. They can't do much. They don't have anything else to do with work. But if they get a phone call from their broker, and it's not just, you're having trouble with your loan, I can look at refinancing, all that type of stuff. They're taking another attitude saying, how are you? How have you been over the last couple of months? How are you actually tracking? What do you think your job prospects are going to be like coming out the other end? We really want to see how you're going. That's the difference. People are going to remember those conversations a lot more than a selling conversation, for sure.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely correct. Hey, the last little bit I want to touch on with yourself is what are you seeing that's happening with lenders at the moment? I mean, I was in the media the other day talking about turnaround times, which are absolutely ludicrous in my books and unjustifiable. And I know they turn and say, well, we used to have call centers overseas and they had to be shut down and then restaff here. Well, maybe you shouldn't have gone there in the first place. And now you're licking your wounds. You just can't call it out and sort of try and flick it off over there. You've got to step up and deliver. We're expected to as an industry. Are you hearing any more? Is there some good oil coming out of the lenders somewhere, or is there still issues there? What do you see happening?
Well, there's such a big range between the good SLAs and the bad SLAs, and I think you'll find that where the good SLAs are coming from are where everything's been kept on shore, so they haven't been affected by any lockdowns and things like that. And my wife works for a not quite big four bank, and she's been working from home just below me in the house at the moment. And she's been working just as long as she has been. She's got massive working hours and everything like that, but her SLAs are on like 1 or 2 days, and you can probably guess maybe what it is based on that type of SLA, because that's what they're working towards, even though they're getting some really big volumes through. Cashbacks and things like that to then add to the problems as well. So it's really about shopping around and making sure that another big thing is the best interests of the client are being met. And one of those things is going to be SLAs, and it's really making sure that you're keeping in contact with BDMs, keeping a look on, Finance and Coffee, for example. There's a traffic light system that they've got on there, which is really cool for a good, reference point, just to have a look at how people are tracking and stuff. But always keep in contact with your BDM. Make sure, where you can escalate files if they are outside SLAs and things like that. So you know where to push and where to not push, or where not to submit a loan to. There's lots of different ways of looking at things, but it really is the communication to keep up. And, with the likes of Leah, myself, the BDMs as well, for sure.
Excellent. All right, mate, so good to chat with you. Thank you for spending time with us this morning. It's been very much appreciated, and ensure you stay well and safe there over in Perth, and
Cheers,
we'll look forward to catching up shortly.
Thanks, mate.
Take care. All righty, thanks to young Mark. And next week on Q&A with Whitey, we're going to have a panel coming up for you. And we have a panel of brokers from all around the country. We're going to sit down and chat on what's happening in their space, and understand what's happening in their states, as well as their particular businesses. So that's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be really, really interesting. Make sure you register to be a part of that next Thursday. I'm sure you're thoroughly going to enjoy it. All righty, and we'll close off from there. And we'll once again say thank you to our sponsors for their support. They're great people. They look after you. They look after us. And don't forget the offer from SendFX. That is amazing. So get onto that, because coming up, you'll be getting very shortly an email that'll have your CPD code on it. You get 1 CPD hour for today's session. And within that email, there will be not only the survey that we'd like you to complete, because your feedback is so important. We really want to know what your thoughts are, but also the contacts for SendFX, so you can get onto that. All righty, stay well, everyone. Thanks for being with us today, and I look forward to seeing you again next week. Bye for now.